last stream, whenever we started to use Tweet Machine, it got very slow. And I thought, oh, maybe it's just like a cache that's building up over the course of, that specific shot, or that file at that time. But it is still just being really slow when I in between with her now. And I'm not sure why, because if I do an independent part of her body, if I select the head and then use Tweet Machine, it snaps instantly, like it does it correctly. So I don't know if it's just that it's getting really dense, but something isn't working the way I would like it to. So I definitely want to go in and clean up something. There's something in the scene that's making it slow down. I don't know if it's just the sheer amount of keys, but that normally isn't an issue, right? So I really want to kind of get to the bottom of why that's an issue. Maybe one of you have had this experience before with an mbot, where as you're starting to use Tweet Machine or whatever tool you might be using, it starts to get really slow. For me, it's never happened before. So I'm really curious as to why it's taking so long. But I do want to make sure that we fix that before we go any further, really. Because otherwise we're just going to be lugging along the entire time, and we've got a lot of stuff to still animate. So that's one thing I want to fix today. The other thing I want to fix is actually Asan got in touch with me, the person who developed Tusify, and he actually explained to me that the way I was using it wasn't the most streamlined, and that there was a tutorial, but I just obviously was midstream, just chucked it into the scene and then just started running with the script. But what I didn't realize is actually there are some functions in the outliner that make it more versatile to turn the switch on and off without having to bake anything down. So that's another thing that I'm gonna basically probably fix now before we go any further. That way I can actually just go through the shot without having to constantly turn my screen space on and off as and when I need to, which would be really nice, because then I know that keys will hold. The only thing that's different is that we'll be adding keys, and I think it only recognizes where the keys are. So maybe I will end up having to run it later, now thinking about it out loud. Or maybe when we just go through sections, I update it. Maybe we do it that way. But I think actually for the meantime, we'll kind of keep it where we are. So what I can do is I'll play the Playblast that we have from last stream on Wednesday, and there were still some things that I wanted to address. So I'm going to make sure that we address those before we go any further. One of those I remember being, if I play it through now, one was the drop initially here was really quick, and the second was some of the clarity on her legs. So I'll play that now. Yeah, so this drop here was just really quick for me. And then it was some of the clarity in her leg here on this kick. I definitely want to hold for longer. So I think on this frame here, it's fine. This frame here, I like the compression, but then this very next frame here, we probably want to already start kicking out so that we hold for those 2 extra frames. And then even in here, it might be the case that we keep that leg straighter for longer, possibly, or we end up spending more time there. So that's one of the 2 ways to fix that area. Here, we need to add some kind of extra beat on that little accents there. You hear the bass go boom. So that's one part I also want. And then we're going to continue into this part here where she slides through and then lands on this chair. And then we'll see how far we get. We might be able to reach here today. We might possibly be able to get into this hang time. We'll see how far we can make. But I only have a couple of hours today. So we'll see what progress we make. Let's go to where we're going to address today. So we're starting here. And then we're going down until around here. So I'm just going to use Tweet Machine. Like, we've got these 2 keys here, for instance. So let me just take a key here and see Okay, it looks like it's already running pretty slowly even with this old Tween machine, which tells me it's not an animbot issue. It might be a CPU issue, you know? It might be something to do with the amount of data being stored on these characters, possibly, within the scene, which may mean I end up needing to split up the scene somehow so that I can remove some keys, you know? And do it section by section. That's the only other way I can think of doing it. Alternatively, we load in multiple version, like a multiple version of her rig, and then that's like it's got basically different rigs have different sets of the animation data, and they swap on and off. Like that's the other alternative. So that way it's all in the same scene. We don't have to keep splitting it up. It's a really tricky one. What I could do, for instance, is let's say up until the part where she lands onto this building here, maybe this whole part, this first part of the shot, so all of this stuff here, we keep as one rig. Then we bring in a second rig, bring over all the animation, and then paste it onto a second rig, and then we load them in and out, and we can see if it tweens faster. That's my only thing I can think of right now, because you can see in my timeline here, if I were to bring up the graph editor, you can see how dense the keys are in the first half versus the second half. It's just a very big shot. So maybe it's just piling up all this data in my CPU and it's just not being able to compute it all at once. So that's my only other hunch that I could think of. And to be fair, I have a pretty strong machine, so it just maybe shows you how dense it is if this works. But it's, yeah, that's the one thing I'm going to try and do now. So I've got Tween Machine here. I've got Studio Library here. So what I can do is in my temp folder, I'm just going to create an animation. And we're going to do the frame range from 574 up until the end, which is basically everything that we've got a little bit of blocking plus in there from last stream, and the rest is blocking. I'm just going to save that out. So I'll just call this 574 the end. So we've got our other rig now. So before I go any further, let me not make the mistake of forgetting to bind to this rig. So let's just change the namespace to this one. Now we're on this rig. Good. So now let's try again. We're on the correct frame. Let's go into Studio Library. And we have the animation here. Let's apply this. Hopefully it doesn't take too long this time. Again, this is all... Oh, there you go. That was fast, right? Compared... See how long that took versus I was basically halfway through giving Ajit feedback and it still hadn't even moved. So what I can do now is this rig on the frame before it, we can just hide below the floor or something. Or I could just, I mean, I've got the whole rig here. Yeah, we can just key the group on and off. So on this one, we can hide it there. And then on this one here, I'll have to do the same for the group of her mech arm, but that's not an issue. So we can key that on, and in the next frame, we key that off. So then we're switching rig, and then we'll just do the same for the mech arms. So key that on, then key that off. And then same for mech arm on this one, that key that on, key that off. So there you go. Now it looks like it's seamless, other than I just need to fix the shader again. There we go. So now we're back where we are. Now I'm going to save this. The true question is, will it Tween Machine faster now? Maybe Vanessa has a... Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name as well, by the way. Please do correct me. But maybe you can shed some light here. Have you ever had an issue with Animbot where it's really slow, like using Tween Machine? So I have this moment, I have this thing now where whenever I try and use Tween Machine, it takes like 5 minutes to in between. I don't know why it's happening. So, oh no, it hasn't pasted the rig correctly. I think I know what it is. I think it's to do with the rotation order we're using. So what I can do is select the other rig. What rotation order are we using? So that's X, Z, Y. So let me change that on this one. X, Z, Y. So that's already fixed that part. Now, is there anything else that's broken as I check through this? It looks to be okay now. I think it was just the root rotation order. All of this looks correct. Yeah, okay, I think we're back. So now the question is, if I Tween Machine, does it take a long time? Hey, okay. We have something. We can continue to animate now, because that only took maybe 3 seconds per button. So that's the solution. We're just going to have to use multiple rigs to load in. And then maybe when the shot is finished, I can combine it all into one, because I won't be adding in-betweens, so that I can export it as one big FBX, rather than having to do sections again for Blender. That's probably what I'll do. Hey Rob, how's it going? Yeah, that's true. I might be able to do a cleanup key thing, for sure. I mean, that is definitely one way of approaching it. Maybe we can do that as well. We'll see if it gets dense again. So there are a few things that I know I wanted to fix in here. So one was the timing of this drop. As it comes down, this is currently on the 1, and I want to make that a little bit slower. So what I need to do is, along with the window, I want to take some of these keys out of the recovery, which is maybe in here, so this one can go. I don't need to remove many keys, but maybe we'll take out those 4. And then I'm going to add that to this. So we begin to drop on 2s. And then I want to extend this. So that this is on 2s. And then maybe I can put this little bit of follow through. Do I put it on 3s? Probably not. Now the question is, this spacing does get quite big, especially here. So maybe I can add an extra in between in here, keeping it on 2s. There we go. So now we need to fix the switch for sure. And then let's fix the legs and the arms. So let's bring that, let's get our normal interface up again. Right, so this guy needs to be holding here. The feet coming back. She's gonna drop down. There we go, so we're just getting a little bit more of an ease into the weight. See, like, I'm using Tween Machine here, and it's not having an issue. So it comes through, then it drops down. So we just add an extra frame in here to kind of cushion into that drop. And we've given it a little bit more time. Now, the next part we wanted to fix was the feet. So we had this antic here. Now this foot here, on this key, I'm already going to have it kick through. And then we need to aim it down. That shoulder looks a bit broken there. Okay, that feels much better. Then as she comes around, I was considering keeping that foot in the same position. Now, as we come up here, I do wonder if I need to keep this down. I like the thing is, I do like the lead and follow. So there's part of me that wonders if it's worth just retiming it slightly so that we give it a little bit more time to hold on this. So we're coming down, we hit into this, we kick out, hold here, and then pop up. I'm trying to think where to add the key. I could maybe put this on the 3, which gives this a hold here, which means I can add another in between to ease out. Then, as we're coming out the other side, I didn't really have any critiques in here that I wanted to fix, other than her neck does look a bit dopey, being so low there. And then we're coming into this part here. So now I need to add the keys. So there was an extra beat in here when I listened to. So we've come through. Now there's this beat in here. Here. She comes down. She's catching. I'm trying to think what I could add in here. Alternatively, this accent. Maybe she hits here early, and then she hangs in the air. I think it's just too long. And she does kind of sit in here, so she could do something. She comes around. What could we have her do? It's a very short beat. We're talking like 4 frames. Well, it's longer than that. How long are we talking? About 13 frames, so it's about half a second where she doesn't do anything right now, but we need her to do something. Because she doesn't necessarily have to hit this pose straight away. That could be what she moves into later. So she comes down. It could be that she actually, as she comes through this, she could twist and grab onto the ledge, possibly. And then it comes into this as she drops. I can try that. So she drops here. We can keep this key. I'll tweak some of these. But I want this key here. So she's coming around. Now in here, I'm suggesting that she turns more. So then we can get some contrast in her spine. And then her arms would come through and catch. But yeah, I'll fix some of these technical problems off stream so next time, hopefully. Then we can just get into the anime. So she's coming around. Now I'm trying to find... She's coming through. I might actually keep her head leading a little bit through here. I could delay this arm. I'm just thinking about her line of action. I've really got to prioritize specific parts of her. Like her core posing. And then here, she's going to drop down. So I'm actually going to delete these keys. And I want to create a new key pose. So in here, she's going to hang like in this position. And then we're going to switch her to IK. And then I can figure out her root position from where the legs are. Then we're going to lean her spine forward. And then I also need that other leg to be in IK. Hey Danish, how's it going, man? So we're keeping her legs together, and she's going to be held on to the ledge. So at this point, it might be worth also putting her arms in IK. Did they both go in IK? Ah, there we go. So she's going to hold on to this ledge, and then she's going to twist and turn into the jump. That's the idea. Again, I'm being a bit spontaneous, but we'll see if it works. If it doesn't, then we can reblock something else, but I think it could. Now I can arch her spine forwards. Eh? Oh. I put her body in IK. There we go. So keep her tucked in. I might be able to drop her lower. I want to get a nice straight in her arms, for sure. And then her feet, can add a bit of foot roll. Which, I thought that would actually bring the legs in, but it didn't. So this is where we could cheat her legs. Like this. Just to hit the pose. And I can have her head look up. Something like this. So if I use this as a new key pose, I can now catch into that, then she can turn and jump into this. I think that could work. Then we get an extra beat in there, essentially. So now I can ease into this new key that we just made. So I'm going to snap both legs into position here. And then I probably will need to use a bit of foot roll to cushion in. Now her root's going to stay a bit tucked in here as well, and it can drop down. Her arms will already be catching. This is the part that's going to require probably going on ones as well, which will actually help a lot with some of these in-betweens. I may just need more time. That might be the other solution. Maybe I mean, I can use that time. So I can delay this by 2 frames and add an extra in between. But yeah, let me just have a look at my Maya settings. So in theory, it should be good. It's still, I'd hope. So the feet here are into position. They both landed. Now the root's coming through. Now I should be able to add a bit more foot roll, just to tuck those knees in. Does look like the knees are going out to the side as well though, so I can fix that. And then as she's coming around, we definitely need to lean her root forward. And her arms. So one can catch, one can still be in betweening. So this guy, which is her left arm, will still be in FK. Oops, wrong one. Right arm is still in FK. And then this one can be coming through. Her wrist here is a bit broken, so I need to just counter that a little. Like this. Coming around. Let's get the hand splaying a little. And then the same on this one. There's something about her shoulder that's breaking though. I'm not sure what it is. This one. It's just got a really harsh dip in it, which isn't very appealing. I might just simplify it, keeping it up. Just keep those shapes clean. Now her spine here will probably already start to switch through. And then this is where we're just going to continue to ease in. Now I could probably do this on the 3. So this is on the 2, but the next one, the key pose is on the 3. It's still... Oh, there you go. I was about to say it's still doing its thing, but it just fixed it. So now we're coming down. I'm getting a little bit of an overshoot on the hips, just to feel that weight come down. I am still thinking I might even still favor... Oops. That's too far. I might still favor the weight a little bit more as it comes through. Those knees still feel a bit strange to me. And then from here, she's going to ease out into this. So on this accent here, we're going to have a twist, like a harsh twist on the accent. So I'm just going to go halfway between machine. Here we go. How to fix your GPU from running out.
Welcome, Red People. It's my name is Tyler today.
Sorry, I'm just going to mute that. I've got it on a different screen, so you guys can't see what I'm doing. But I'm just going to be looking at that between our in-betweens. So we're now easing out. I could get that foot to come off the ground, which is already quite nice. But I could probably separate that a little bit more. So that right leg is already in FK, which is good. So that could begin to drop round. Just release off the ground a little bit. We can hold one arm in the air. So her left arm could remain holding on. Oops, wrong button. So her left arm remains in IK, that's correct. Like this. The right arm, we can begin to ease out. Like this. We definitely want to lead through with her head. And I can begin to twist her body. Something like this. See if I can curl that foot in a bit more. Just because I don't want it to go too far away. Because it's not really making too much of a change. It might just need to twist. Which, to be fair, might have been easier to do in IK if I was just going to do that, but I've done it now. Something like this, then you get that nice direct pull with the arm coming down. Now, from this, I do want to ease out. So I can do that on a 1. There weren't any Blender Maya issues on there. Okay. So in here, I definitely want to get the head to lead the turn. I might keep... I wonder if I keep the arms and legs in their current positions. Just to get a little bit of lead. So that right arm needs to come off. maybe begin to ease that out more so we get that nice clean line coming through. I can probably begin to twist this foot a little. And then I'm just cheating the position using the pole. Like this. Then at some point we've got to reach this key here. Now, I'm going to tweak this. This is, again, a temporary pose now that I'm going through. I'm kind of seeing how it needs to play. I still feel like I can make this work because she lands down. We can overshoot. She can come into this. And then from here, she can pretty much hit straight into that. So I'm going to delete this key. I'm going to take these two. Bring that later. Like this. And then from here, we can use this time to overshoot, settle, and then go into the next thing. So I think this all works fine. But here... is where this key is going to finish. So this is the final key. So I can actually use this as an overshoot. So I'm going to stretch out her root a bit more. Now, this is the tricky part. Do I have the legs? Am I just going to have to cheat the knee still? Technically, she would drop down directly to overshoot. I don't want to stretch her too much either. We just want to feel some weight come through. But yeah, we are starting to break her knees a bit through here, which isn't ideal. The only alternative is if her legs don't land there, they land somewhere else, but that's also not ideal. Well, actually, when I tuck her hips in, it doesn't... You kind of feel it more than you'll see it, maybe. Again, I'm just going to be slightly playing around with this. Because I could knock her knee out here from this foot. Like this. Maybe. This one we don't need to worry about too much. It's the other foot. It's just an overshoot pose. So like we're... Hopefully you'll just feel the drop more than you'll see it. Really. But I don't want to go too far either. Then we can compensate with her shoulders coming up a bit. So we're hitting down. We need to ease into this a bit more. Then her knees also. Just so we feel that weight, then she can recover back up. So then here, this is where we're easing back in. So we're coming up and then settling in here. So there's a little overshoot. And then she's turning. This needs to be later. This can be now on an in-between on a 1. Sorry, I need to turn off my attribute editor. About the CYBERPHONK project, do I have a deadline to give yourself to do the entire thing? No, I'm kind of chipping away at this as I go, really. And it gets done the time that it gets done. Like, if I gave myself a deadline, then I would probably overwork myself even more than I already am to try and get it done, because it's so hard to estimate how long this shot's going to take, because there are a lot of unknowns in terms of the workflow. And there's going to be some experimenting. I'm not just talking about animation, I'm referring to the texturing, the lighting, the rendering, the comp, the effects, all of that stuff. So this is more just something that I'm just chipping away at in my own time. I'm not putting too much pressure on myself to get it done. The only real pressure, honestly, that would come from anywhere is from you guys, because I'm treating this in a very laid back way. This isn't for like a resume or anything. This is just something that I think would be fun to do. So yeah, sometimes normally I would say it is good to give yourself a deadline, but in this case, I don't want to add more pressure in my life where it's not necessary. So I'm gonna actually have to drop here a bit more. Just a little, and then she pushes up into something more direct. So she's coming through. Now this is going to be quite a crucial breakdown, I think. So I'm going to keep the setup as it was before. So this leg needs to push off. And this leg is tucking in. So actually, if anything, her left leg needs to be in FK as well. I'm gonna keep that tucked in. I'm wondering if I actually keep that knee. Yeah. It's really bent. Like, we're hyperflexing that knee here quite a lot. Yeah, I think we need to curl it in, because you'll feel it more than you'll see it. It's on the 1 anyway. And then her arm needs to remain attached. Like that. And then her other arm can be already leading out. So she comes through here. Comes around. Like that. I do want to have her head lead more though. Something like this. Now, this key here is fine. We're dropping down. I'm going to have an ease out here. Yeah, I'm just going to add one extra ease out key. I don't think I'll need to tweak any of the pose. It's just the spacing. think that works. Right? Let's scrub this back. We need to see the whole thing. They're from here. Yeah, it looks like our discs have also just decided to disappear. That's fine. We can fix this stuff later. It's not a huge deal. I was just adding it more for context. Let's save that, and then we can play Blast. Yeah, let me pause the lo-fi, and we'll give us a play. Yeah, that works much better. This part here, it's really tricky, that timing. I do wonder. I think I might need to hit it earlier. Down. I think we need a few more frames in this down pose. And potentially maybe I can take some of that out of this part here. This part in here. Maybe this could be slightly faster. I do like the hang in there. But it does also feel a little bit luggish. So I might be able to just play around with some of those keys. I could probably try that now because that won't take me very long. So it was in this part here. She comes down. This part in here. So this is on 2s right now. So what I'm suggesting is that some of this is on 1s. I think this key here can definitely be on a 1. And this key from here to here, this can be on the 1. It already is. Interesting. Maybe this and this can be on the 1 as well. So this needs to come earlier. This maybe we can also put on the 1. This definitely needs to remain on the 2. But then this we can land earlier. So now I'm going to add an extra in-between in here. And then it's coming through. So you're suggesting that this part here, she doesn't need to go down. She can just turn. Yes, you're saying to not have her antic. I mean, I guess the antic came from the down, but technically this isn't anticipating. This is just easing out in this part here. But it could be more direct for sure. Just trying to create the path that feels a little bit more in one direction. Maybe both this foot can also twist earlier. So it's a little bit more direct there. And then that hand needs to release. Also, hear how many accents are in that part. So you'd have to really suspend in the air for a really long time, do all these flares and the music accents, and then go across. Because if you listen to the music, the main reason that rope swing lasts as long as it does is because of where the final sound cue happens. So if we listen, so you have this part here. So it goes dun 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 cut dun, and then from there you start to hear this sound coming, going whoop 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 in the background, and then the last sound you hear on the landing is this sound. That bong. That is the cue for the next beat, like the next section of the animation. So, in other words, the time of that rope swing needs to last the period of time it does right now. And if you only had it go across one side, that's a lot of suspended time in the air. So it made sense with the rhythm to have it go up, down, up, land. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, land. So like those beats need to happen for the music, because that's what the alternative is you change the song as well, and then you made the rope shorter. Like you'd have to be there's a lot of changing there. I know you've mentioned you're not suggesting to change it, but it's just because, as you've mentioned, you think there are too many jumps on the rope. So I'd be curious how you would change that, how you would fix the note without changing too much. But it didn't bother me, but then I'm the person who's stuck in the weeds, right? It's the same with like a painter who's getting into all the details, and someone's like, oh, but he's missing his right hand, you know? So I always take everything on that you guys say with, I take the criticism on board. Okay, you got the why. You just think it's a bit repetitive. It's the general note, I guess. Which is valid. If there's not enough variety in animation, that's something we can explore. Still doesn't feel right. I really want to know what it is. Now it feels too fast. There's a really fine tune in there. So I think this does need to be on the 2. I think that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Maybe it's a spacing as well. Just maybe needs to be a little bit more progressive. Trying to get that arm connection working. She kicks out, wraps around. I don't know, I'm throwing ideas as well. Easier said than done. Yeah, for sure, man. That just really hits hard. Ugh. It's really smacking down. I think it doesn't help it's the arm. I do wonder if maybe that arm just needs to be less visible. So we're coming through. That spacing on that hand is really jarring. So I'm going to hold that arm back. Trying to find the right positions. The alternative is it stays down. So through here, not everything always has to drag. That might give it a bit of variety, because it is definitely my go-to to begin to add overlap, because it's one of the principles, and I'm just like, yeah, that thing should be dragging, right? But that's not always the case. But I don't want it to blink on screen so much. That's another aspect of it. So I kind of want to almost hide the arm a little bit more. I think that helps. But then, yeah, it is definitely still a timing spacing thing. Maybe just trying to track the head spacing and not have it blink so much. Trying to give it a little bit more ease, because we have these keys to play with. Still hits down a lot here. I think it needs an extra ease out. So that's partly to do with it. I think we're missing an in-between. So what I could do is, again, I could take from here, or do I take it from this part? Let's take it from that end section. So let's delay this by 2 frames. Now this is on the 3 right now, so we can delay that as well by a frame. And then we can use an in-between in here. Here. Let's add an ease out. There we go. So we're easing out now. So we're coming down. That foot is going to lead. Just a little bit more progressive just to get to that ease out. I don't think there's much else we need to fix there. Maybe just this arm needs to be further behind. Cheers for the sub, guys. Coming around. That still feels like it's landing too early. So I'm going to keep her arm in FK. Just have her begin to reach down. And then I need to fix her elbow there. I mean, that helps a little bit. Just get a bit of stretch in there. Bit of a reach. There we go. That already felt a little bit more progressive. So I'll play Blast that one more time. And then we'll see how it plays. And despite how some professionals may make it look easy, because whenever you see stuff online, people only show you the final products, and even if they don't show you just the final product, they show you a work in progress, or they show you like a progression reel, right, where it'll be like the blocking, and then it'll be the spline parts, and it'll be the polish, but you don't know how long it took them to reach those parts and how many struggles they got through to get there. And I can pretty confidently say that it wasn't easy for them, regardless of how long it took them. Sure, some people will get there faster than others, but there's no one out there that's just like click, 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 click. Oh yeah, that works. You know, there's going to be so much iteration to get it to that point. And it still takes a lot of skill, and you know, they acquire those skills, but it's never easy. Yes, that felt way better. I'm happy with that. There's a little bit of that foot flicker in here that I need to fix, because it kind of is a bit distracting right now. But then, yeah, it's buttery. There you go. I'll take that as the compliment. But yeah, there's a little bit in here that just needs a bit of a fine tune. I mean, also, her foot's going through that pillar in general. So we can fix that. And then her feet here. Looks like they're in FK. That one's fine. This guy needs a bit of toe press. Is this one in IK? I'm a bit confused. Okay, they're both in FK. Trying to figure out what... Oh, that's what I'm looking for. There we go. Just to get that to push off. And then, yeah, we can clean up that leg just a little bit. Just keep those silhouettes clean. That knee, I'm still not liking because it kind of jitters down and comes back up. But it also doesn't help that the root goes so low. Maybe the hips also need correcting. This is where having it in IK would have been easier. Just need to track that spacing to make it a little bit more progressive. There we go. Playblast, and then we'll call it there. You see the second buck bounce before you do that last jump. That's what I was talking about. It's not wrong, it's just an opinion. No, it's fair. I think, yeah, I did see it. I do see where you're coming from. No, I don't have an FK-IK match tool because of the rig. I have tools that do it. I have multiple tools that do it, but the tool doesn't work with this rig. None of them do. For reasons I've explained before. But yeah, unfortunately it doesn't work. Yeah, I think that's going to work. Yeah, I kind of see where you're coming from. I might even be able to use this down as an antic to then go directly up. Because see how it kind of pauses here and then just leaves? So it's kind of like what you're saying with the second bounce. We might even just be able to simplify that even further, where we hold in this down for longer, then use that as the antic to just go straight up. I think that's what we'll do. You'll feel that nice rhythm, that little kind of feeling to it. So yeah, otherwise I still feel like we've made progress today, despite there being technical difficulties for like the first 40 minutes. But I will try and get to the bottom of those. But yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. Be sure to follow and subscribe if you don't already. And you can reach out to me on Twitter or LinkedIn if you have any questions in the meantime. Otherwise, do check me out on those socials because that's where I'll be posting the next promotion for the next stream. But yeah, in the meantime, hope you all have a good one. And I'll be in touch with the next stream. Cool. See you later.